Listen to me, everything you are right now, everything you've done up to this point, every win, every loss, every single place you've found yourself standing in life. It started right here in your head. Before it ever showed up in the physical world, before you ever touched it, before you ever lived it, it was first a thought. Some of you don't realize that your life is not being controlled by what's in your bank account. It's not being controlled by your boss. It's not being controlled by your circumstances. It's being controlled by the thoughts you've allowed to take root in your mind. The mind is the architect, and your reality is just the blueprint drawn out by your thoughts. You have to understand that when you think small, you live small. You keep telling yourself, I can't do this. I'm not good enough. I'll never be like them. And guess what? You end up living a life that matches those thoughts perfectly. You've been rehearsing failure before you've even stepped on the field. You've been programming yourself to lose before you've even started the race. But when you shift that mindset and say, I was made for more, I have what it takes, I will win, everything changes. Not because the world suddenly gets easier, but because your blueprint changes. And once the blueprint changes, the building starts to look different. Your thoughts are like seeds. Whatever you plant, whatever you water, that's what's going to grow. If all you plant are weeds, fear, doubt, excuses, that's all your life will produce. But if you start planting faith, discipline, vision, commitment, you start growing something you can be proud of. The problem is, a lot of you don't even know you're planting weeds. You think it's harmless to keep replaying that negative comment somebody made about you. You think it's just being realistic. To keep telling yourself why it won't work, but those thoughts are shaping your reality behind the scenes. Think about it. Every invention, every breakthrough, every championship, before it was ever a reality, it lived in somebody's mind first. The phone you use every day, the car you drive, the business you admire, the records that have been broken. All of it started with somebody thinking, what if this is possible? What if I could do this? They didn't wait for permission. They didn't wait for someone else to prove it first. They held that thought until it became so real in their mind that they couldn't help but bring it into the world. The flip side is true too. People who think they're not worthy of success never go after it. People who think they're stuck in their situation never try to change it. They've imprisoned themselves with nothing more than their own thinking. And here's the scary part. You don't even have to say it out loud for it to control you. Those quiet little doubts, the ones you never admit to anyone, are often the strongest forces holding you back. I'm telling you right now, if you want to change your life, you have to start by changing what's going on in your head. You can't wait until you feel motivated. You can't wait until everything lines up. You have to make the decision that from this moment on, you're only going to build with bricks that are strong enough to hold the life you want. That means when a negative thought shows up, you challenge it, you replace it, you don't let it live rent, free in your mind. When you wake up in the morning, your first thoughts matter. If the first thing you say to yourself is, I'm tired, I don't want to do this, I can't, you've already lost before the day starts. But if you wake up and speak life into yourself, if you set your focus on what you're building, if you remind yourself of who you're becoming, you're setting the tone for everything that follows. And I know some of you are thinking, that's easier said than done. You're right, it's not easy. It's hard to rewrite thoughts that have been living in your head for years. It's hard to stop rehearsing your pain and start rehearsing your purpose. But just like you can train your body, you can train your mind. Every time you choose to focus on what's possible instead of what's wrong, every time you remind yourself of your value instead of your flaws, you're rewiring your brain to produce a different outcome. You've got to stop being a victim of your thoughts and start being the boss of them. Stop letting your mind wander wherever it wants to go. Stop giving it permission to sit in fear, in gossip, in self-pity. Take control. Set the direction. Tell your mind where it's going, because if you don't, it will take you places you never wanted to go. And I'm not talking about just thinking happy thoughts. I'm talking about creating a mental environment so strong, so locked in, that even when life throws its worst at you, you can still stand. Even when people doubt you, you know who you are. Even when you fail, you know you're not finished. That's the power of mastering your blueprint. The truth is, your reality will never rise above the level of your thinking. You can't outwork a negative mind. You can't out-hustle a self-defeating belief. You can put in the hours, but if your head is telling you you're not enough, you'll find a way to sabotage yourself. But if your head is telling you you're destined for more, you'll keep going until you get it. So here's the question. What kind of life do you want to build? If you want to build something strong, something meaningful, something that lasts, you better start with thoughts that can hold that weight. Because if your mind is weak, your life will be fragile. But if your mind is strong, your life will be unshakable. Everything starts here. What you think you become. And if you don't like what you've become, the first renovation starts in your mind. Your mind is the most valuable thing you own, but some of you treat it like it's disposable. You guard your phone with a password. You lock your house at night. You protect your car with an alarm. But your mind. You let anybody and anything walk in and out like it's free real estate. You let people's opinions move in. You let the news dump fear on your doorstep. You let negativity play on repeat like it's your favorite playlist. And then you wonder why you feel stuck, why you can't focus, why your dreams feel far away. It's because you haven't been guarding the one thing that controls everything else. The truth is, your mind is like fertile soil. Whatever lands there will grow. And if you let anything land there, you can't complain about the weeds that start taking over. You can't expect greatness when you've been feeding your mind nothing but junk. Gossip, doubt, toxic conversations, comparisons. That's like trying to grow roses in a garbage dump. You might have good intentions, but the environment won't support it. You've got to guard your mind like your life depends on it, because it does. I'm talking about being intentional about what you let in. Who are you listening to? What are you reading? What are you watching? Some of you spend more time scrolling through other people's lives than building your own. And every time you compare yourself to somebody else, you're planting seeds of "I'm not enough" in your head. Every time you entertain drama, you're planting seeds of distraction. Every time you let negativity sit with you, you're giving it room to grow roots. You've got to decide, this mind is mine, and I control what gets in. That means sometimes you have to cut people off, not because you hate them, but because they keep speaking things into your life that don't match where you're going. That means you can't just watch whatever is trending if it doesn't align with your purpose. That means you have to be intentional about what you feed your brain the same way you'd be intentional about what you feed your body. You can't expect a healthy body off junk food, and you can't expect a powerful mind off mental junk. And let's keep it real. Guarding your mind isn't just about keeping bad stuff out. It's also about filling it with the right stuff. If you want confidence, you've got to feed it affirmations, feed it wins, feed it proof of your own progress. If you want vision, you've got to feed it big ideas, inspiring stories, thoughts that challenge you to stretch. If you want discipline, you've got to feed it reminders of why you started. Feed it examples of what's possible when you stay committed. You can't just leave your mind empty and hope good things show up. An empty mind is a playground for every fear, every insecurity, every distraction. You have to fill it on purpose. You have to load it up with so much truth, so much clarity, so much belief that lies can't find space to live. Here's the thing. Your mind can't tell the difference between what's real and what's repeated. If you keep hearing it, if you keep seeing it, if you keep speaking it, your mind will accept it as truth. That's why you can't afford to let anything in that works against you. You can't let that co-worker's sarcastic comment echo in your head for 3 days. You can't let your past mistakes play on a loop. You can't let your own insecurities sit there and talk you out of your potential. The moment they show up, you have to confront them, replace them, speak something better. You've got to be ruthless about it. Some of you are too nice when it comes to your mental space. You let things hang around because you don't want to seem cold, because you don't want to upset anyone. But you've got to understand, your purpose is too valuable to let people rent space in your head for free. You're building something with your life, and every distraction costs you time and energy you can't get back. This is why you have to set mental boundaries. If someone always brings negativity, limit your time with them. If certain environments make you lose focus, stop going there. If certain shows, songs, or content leave you feeling drained, cut them off. You don't owe anything access to your mind just because it's popular, convenient, or familiar. And I get it. Sometimes the hardest thing to guard your mind from is your own voice. That's why you've got to train it. You can't just let your thoughts wander like an undisciplined child. You have to teach your mind what to focus on, where to look, how to respond. When your mind starts drifting to doubt, you pull it back to possibility. When it starts rehearsing your failures, you pull it back to your victories. When it starts telling you it's too hard, you pull it back to your why. The way you guard your mind will determine the quality of your life. You can have all the talent in the world, all the opportunities in the world, but if your mind is unguarded, you'll waste it. Because every dream has an enemy. Every purpose has opposition. And if your mind isn't strong enough to stand against it, you'll give up before you see what's possible. I'm telling you, the battle is not just out there, it's in here. And if you can win the war in your mind, you can win anywhere. But you've got to make guarding your mind a daily discipline, not a one-time thing. You've got to wake up every morning ready to protect it, ready to choose what gets in, ready to feed it with what will keep you sharp, focused, and unshakable. Because when you truly guard your mind, when you fill it with the right thoughts and block the wrong ones, you start to see the shift. You walk into the same situations, but you respond differently. You hear the same doubts, but you don't accept them. You face the same obstacles, but now you see opportunity. You stop being reactive and start being intentional. You stop letting the world write your story and start writing it yourself. At the end of the day, this is your mind, your most valuable asset. And if you don't guard it, someone else will fill it for you, and they won't be building the life you want. Some of you have been living with the same thought patterns for so long that you don't even question them anymore. You've repeated them so many times they feel like truth, but they're not. They're habits. And the problem with mental habits is they don't just sit there. They run your life. They decide how far you go before you even take the first step. That's why if you want to change your life, you can't just change what you do. You've got to reprogram what you believe. Your mind is like a computer, and those old beliefs are outdated software. You've been running programs that keep crashing your progress. Things like, I'm not smart enough. I'm too late. I'll never have that kind of life. You don't realize how dangerous those lines of code are because you think they're harmless little thoughts. But those thoughts have been making decisions for you without your permission. They've been closing doors before you ever tried to walk through them. They've been telling you to stay in your lane when the truth is, you were made to own the whole road. Reprogramming your mind means you stop accepting those old scripts as the final word. It means you become aware of the things you've been telling yourself and you start writing new lines. You can't just try to delete the old program. You've got to replace it with something stronger. You can't just tell yourself, Don't think negative. No. You've got to fill that space with something better. If the old thought says, you can't do this, you replace it with, I'm built for this. If the old thought says, you've failed before, you replace it with, I've learned before, and now I'm ready to win. And it's not a one-time switch. You can't just say it once and expect your mind to be transformed. You've been repeating the old lines for years. You've got to be just as committed to repeating the new ones. That's why I believe in affirmations, not because they're some magic trick, but because repetition is how the brain learns. The same way you learned the alphabet, the same way you learned to ride a bike, you did it over and over until it became automatic. That's what you've got to do with your new thoughts. Visualization is another powerful tool. When you see it in your mind, you start to believe it's possible. You stop thinking of it as some far-off dream and start thinking of it as something that's already yours, just waiting for you to step into it. Athletes do it all the time. They don't just practice the game physically, they play it in their heads until it's second nature. You've got to start playing your win in your mind until you can feel it, hear it, taste it. Because once your mind believes it, your actions will follow. But here's the thing, reprogramming your mind isn't just about adding new thoughts. It's about breaking the cycle of the old ones. You've got to catch yourself in the moment. When that old belief starts to creep back in, you don't just let it ride, you stop it. You say, no, that's the old me talking. That's not who I am anymore. You correct yourself on the spot, because every time you let the old program run, it gets stronger. And every time you shut it down, it gets weaker. Some of you need to stop surrounding yourself with people who reinforce the old program. You're trying to think bigger, but you're still hanging with people who talk small. You're trying to see yourself winning, but you're listening to people who keep reminding you of your losses. That's like trying to install new software on your computer while someone else is in the background downloading viruses. You've got to protect your progress. You've got to make sure the voices around you match the voice you're trying to develop inside of you. You also have to back up your new beliefs with action. If you keep telling yourself you're disciplined, but you don't follow through, your brain won't buy it. If you keep telling yourself you're capable, but you avoid every challenge, your brain will call you a liar. The fastest way to reprogram your mind is to give it evidence. Start stacking up small wins. Start following through on little commitments. Start keeping promises to yourself. Because when your mind sees that your words and your actions match, it starts to believe you for real. And yes, it's going to be uncomfortable. You're going to feel resistance, because your old thoughts have been in charge for so long they don't want to give up control. They're going to fight to stay, but that's a good sign. It means you're pushing into new territory. It means your brain is adjusting to a new normal. The key is not to give in when it feels strange. Keep going until the new belief feels just as natural as the old one used to feel. This is where most people quit. They think just because the old thought comes back, it means they've failed. No, it means you're human. It means you're rewiring a system that's been running the same way for years. The fact that you even notice the old thought now means you're making progress. Before, it was running in the background without you even knowing it. Now you're aware. Now you have a choice. And don't underestimate how quickly your life can change when your thinking changes. I've seen people go from doubting everything to building something incredible in a short time, not because their circumstances magically shifted, but because they started to see themselves differently. They started to make decisions that matched their new identity. They stopped asking, "Can I?" and started saying, "I will." You can't become a new you with the old mind. It's like trying to run new software on a system that hasn't been updated in years. It's going to glitch. It's going to crash. It's not going to handle the new level. You've got to update your system. You've got to feed it new data, new experiences, new truths until the old ones fade out. And the beautiful part is, once your mind truly accepts a new belief, it stops feeling like work. It just becomes who you are. So every day, be intentional. Watch your thoughts like you'd watch over something priceless. Speak what you want to see, even if it feels awkward at first. Picture yourself already living it. Act like the person you're becoming. And keep doing it until your mind has no choice but to agree. Because once your mind is reprogrammed for success, the rest of your life has no option but to follow. You can think all the right thoughts, speak all the right affirmations, visualize every single day. But if your actions don't match what's in your head, you're not going to see the life you're imagining. This is where a lot of people miss it. They've got the vision, they've got the belief, but they're not moving in alignment with it. And when your thoughts say one thing but your actions say another, you cancel yourself out. You can't just think like a champion. You've got to train like one. You can't just tell yourself you're disciplined. You've got to live disciplined. If your mind says, I'm committed, but your actions keep showing inconsistency, you're teaching yourself not to believe your own words. That's why some people feel stuck. It's not because their mindset isn't changing. It's because their behavior hasn't caught up yet. Every action you take is either confirming or denying the story you're telling yourself. If you say, I'm focused, but you keep wasting hours on distractions, your brain gets the message that you're not serious. But if you say, I'm focused, and you follow it by shutting out those distractions, putting in the work, showing up no matter what, then your brain says, this is who we are now. That's when you start to build momentum. Alignment is everything. If you believe you're the type of person who's healthy and strong, but your actions don't reflect that, if you're skipping workouts, eating whatever's convenient, you're living in conflict, that conflict creates frustration because deep down you know you're out of sync. But the moment you start living in alignment with your vision, there's a different kind of energy. You start feeling proud of yourself. You stop doubting so much because you have evidence every day that you're becoming who you said you would be. And I'm not talking about perfection. I'm talking about consistency. You don't have to be flawless to be in alignment. You just have to keep choosing actions that match your beliefs more often than not. If you believe you're a finisher, you don't leave projects half done. If you believe you're disciplined, you don't let your emotions decide whether you show up or not. If you believe you're destined for greatness, you're not out here giving half effort. This is why people who set big goals and then actually back them with action are so dangerous. They don't just dream it, they live it. They wake up with intention. They move like the person they're becoming, not like the person they've been. And the more they do it, the more unstoppable they get, because they've removed the gap between belief and behavior. But here's the challenge. Sometimes your actions are going to feel uncomfortable because they don't match your current reality yet. You might believe you're a leader, but you're still in a position where nobody's following you yet. You might believe you're financially free, but your bank account hasn't caught up. That's where most people give up. They wait for the reality to change before they act like it's true. But you've got to flip it. You've got to act like it's true until the reality catches up. That's what walking in alignment looks like. It's making decisions based on where you're going, not where you are. It's saying no to things that don't fit the vision, even if they're easy or comfortable. It's saying yes to the hard stuff that's going to grow you, even if it scares you. It's building habits now that your future self is going to thank you for. Think about it. If you truly believed you were going to succeed, what would you be doing differently today? Would you be moving with urgency? Would you be surrounding yourself with certain people? Would you be learning certain skills? Would you be taking risks instead of playing it safe? That's the version of you your actions need to match right now. And let's be honest, When your actions are in alignment with your thoughts, people notice. They might not say it, but they feel it. They see the difference between someone who just talks about change and someone who lives it. Opportunities start showing up because people trust your follow-through. They see you as someone who's serious, someone who's consistent, someone who's going to deliver. It's also important to remember that aligned action isn't just about big moves, it's about the little daily choices. The way you spend your morning, the way you handle challenges, the way you respond to setbacks. The little things you do every single day are building the proof your mind needs to keep believing. If you're telling yourself you're committed but skipping the small stuff, you're creating cracks in your foundation, and those cracks add up. If you want to become the person you see in your head, you've got to close the gap between the thought and the action. The more you close that gap, the faster you become that person. It's not magic, it's alignment. There's going to be days when you don't feel like it. Days when it would be easier to break the promise you made to yourself. But that's when alignment matters the most. Anybody can act in alignment when they're motivated. Winners act in alignment when they're tired, when they're stressed, when they're not in the mood. Because they know that every action is casting a vote for the person they want to be. So stop telling yourself you believe in something if you're not willing to move in that belief. Stop saying you want a certain life if your daily actions look like you're preparing for the opposite. Decide today that your thoughts, your words, and your actions are going to work together, not against each other. Because when your actions match your thoughts, your results have no choice but to match your vision.